been racking my brain to try to figure out kind of how to follow through on what I said I wanted to do a couple of weeks ago at OTB when I was really struggling. And really what I came up with was, even though I said I wanted to go over some of the stuff that I was struggling with last year and how I approached it and how I put a lot of things into place that worked really well for me last year. And I got through it, got my tour card with a bunch of good finishes at the end of the year in some of the bigger tournaments, or some of the tougher courses. Maybe, some of the ones that I did really well in were two of the smaller tournaments actually, but I did really well for where I was anyway, for some of the bigger tournaments. And I put those things in place. I'm doing the same things this year, and like I was saying then, they're not working this year, as far as on paper. And what I really wanted to go over was just all of that stuff and let you guys in on again why I do some of the stuff that I do, what I struggle with, and what I've been struggling with this year. And really what I came up with was not much. I was really having trouble finding the words to kind of go over all of that without just making it sound like excuses. And really that's what it is. And so I haven't been able to come up with much content to go over that stuff. I've already got a bunch of stuff planned with a couple of other tour players that we're gonna have some really cool, like, fun videos to put out there that we get to work with a bunch of different manufacturers. And so all of the YouTube stuff, I am focusing on that. I'm preparing for that, getting all that set up. But all in all, I feel like it's kind of my job to just wear it with some of the bad stuff, bringing you guys through the kind of letting you guys in on the day-to-day and what I had initially thought might be a good idea of just going over what I'm going through and what struggles I have, what things are going really well. Kind of what I'm getting at is I feel like kind of part of my job is to insulate you guys from the bad stuff. Nobody wants to see that. You guys come here to be entertained and have fun, and that's what I want to be. And I need to focus on the stuff that I'm struggling with that really gets me down at times and just absolutely wears me out emotionally and mentally. And I got to get through that stuff so that I can get to the good part. And I've got people around me that can absolutely help me through that, and it doesn't need to be something that I focus on here. So that's really what I came up with, was I need to take responsibility for all of that on my own. And I don't know that people really need to see all of that unless there's something that comes up where it's a good opportunity to show people how to get through it if they're struggling with some stuff like that. And I haven't gotten through it this time yet, so I don't know that I'm the expert on that. So really I want to focus on the good stuff. And one of the things that you're going to see a lot coming up is that this drive right now, I am the reason I'm driving and talking to you. I know that a lot of people would think this is fairly distracted, but I have 566 miles on the same interstate where there's almost nobody around me. It's kind of dead straight in the middle of nowhere. And so I think I'm good there. I know how to drive in a straight line. And anyway, with that said, this massive drive from Oregon back to South Carolina, I've already, we're 2 days into it, and I've already gotten to go over a ton of things in my head that are just a bunch of stuff that I have been way too hard on myself about, and I have gotten a lot out of, and I haven't acknowledged it. Like, I'm very thankful for that last really tough tournament at Beaver State. I can't stand that course as far as my game goes. I don't know that it's a terrible course, but for me, It's terrible. And the good thing about it is, with the new open bag, one, it made me work on a ton of shots. The week before that, I had a breakthrough at Portland Open and shot I think it ended up being a 1038 final round. Not the finals, but the third round, because I didn't make the cut. I haven't played well enough for that. So I had a breakthrough, found a bunch of stuff that I feel really, really good about going forward, that are some of the most important shots in my bag. And then I get to, so the Boss, for instance, is one of the discs that I really locked in. I feel great about knowing where that's going, how to adjust, when to use it, what wind conditions to use it for, all of that type of thing. And when I got to Beaver State, I realized I'm not going to throw the Boss a single time. And so it made me work on a whole different part of my bag. And when your bag is 52 to 54 discs like mine is, that's the whole open bag switch is a massive undertaking for me. And I mean, it would be for anybody, but I do think because of all the slots that I have and the way that my game works, where I kind of let the disc do the work as far as the movement through fairways and just what gaps I have to hit and which way it needs to be going once it gets through the gap and how it needs to hit the ground and control the ground play and all that stuff. I have a lot more variables because of the way I built my game, and you know, that's a flaw, and then it also at times can be a great thing. So at this time, it's a flaw because I made some mistakes where I'm just like, God, what happened there? And when I was thinking over it, I did not get to use any of the stuff that I really locked in. So with all that said, I'm very, very thankful that it put me through that, because even though it was just a very, very frustrating weekend and I shot 3 rounds below 1,000, the last one being 999. So, I mean, that one wasn't terrible, but I still expect to be shooting 10, 15, 10, 20s, and I just haven't done that this year, and I'm going to get there. And it, you know, having a tournament like that makes you question everything. And if you don't question everything, then you don't know how committed you actually are to certain things. And you can apply that to whatever you're going through, whatever you're struggling with, whatever part of life you want to. But for me, it made me question, you know, God, this just feels so bad right now. How am I going to get through this? I feel like I've somehow at the end of the year last year, I felt like a, you know, top 30 to top 50 player in the world, and I expected to get better and better from that. And now I'm playing like a maybe borderline top 100 player in the world. And I know the reasons for that, but until I think over it at the time, like right when you're fresh off of a tournament where you just played that bad, it doesn't feel like you've got the answers there. And I know now, like when you get time to kind of reflect on stuff like that, it goes a long way for being committed to what you're gonna do in the future. And I've always said my greatest ability is to have a tournament like that or have an experience like that and pick myself back up and convince myself that I'm one of the best players in the world going forward. And whether that's true or not, you shouldn't be out here if you can't convince yourself of that round after round, even when you're struggling, because then you're never going to win anything. You're never going to be committed to the shots you're throwing. You're never going to be committed to how much hard work you're putting in. I would say that truly is my greatest ability, is the resilience after the fact. One of my biggest weaknesses is when something goes catastrophically wrong, I don't handle it very well, and that's something I'm working on. When something just goes haywire, I have not found a way on the spot to critically think in a calm way and not overreact and not get, you know, too high or too low, is what my dad always told me. I get too low and too high pretty often, and when I go on the low end, I lose a lot of that confidence. But you know, on the other side of things, when I'm on the high end, I feel like I'm unstoppable, and that can be an advantage in and of itself. And I think I've figured out how to use that side of things. I've figured out how to use that emotion in a great way and channel that. I've got to figure out how to turn the opposite emotion into some fire during a round right when it happens. And I know that everybody struggles with that. I know that that's a really hard thing for even the best players in the world. But I'm challenging myself to do that better. And I've made little steps here and there, and I've got a long way to go. I've gotten better at it. But all in all, what I'm getting at is all of what I went through the last 3 weeks are very, very different struggles, and I challenged myself and I fell flat on my face, 3 out of 3 times pretty much. It's not where I wanted to be, but with the biggest break that I've had all year coming up and having most of my bag fairly solidified, I feel great about pretty much every spot in my bag except for maybe 2 or 3 slots. I know what I'm about to do, and I know that it's hard for a lot of people to think that I'm not just gonna fizzle out. And I know a lot of the I never listen to any of this stuff because it just kind of makes me laugh, but I know what people have been saying. I know a lot of the people that don't appreciate my game, that don't appreciate me, and don't appreciate how I approach things. I know they've been taking victory laps, and I hope they've enjoyed it. That's all I got to say. For now, I did want to go over the fact that I have not followed through on what I said I was going to do as far as going over what I've, my routine and some of the stuff that I do and what I struggled with and all that stuff that I mentioned at the beginning of this video. But the reason for it is I want to keep things fun. I want to keep things positive. And the biggest takeaway that I want out there right now is that my intention is that you see a Jake Wolf that you've never seen before, and that's what the open bag switch was for. That's what all of everything that I've done leading up to this point was for. And I think I've already put a lot of things in place that are going to allow me to get into that zone, into that mode that I know I can get into, that I got into last year for the last little bit to make sure that I secured my card. And if I can do that with where my game's at now, it should take me even higher. And I'm going to make sure that it does, because I know for a fact there might be some people that have worked as hard as me, but I know that nobody has outworked me, and I know that that work is going to pay off, and I have faith in my ability to make sure that it does. So we're halfway through the year. Second half's about to be fun. All right, guys, thank you so much for all the support, and cheers. We'll talk to you soon.